Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster, and this is the beginning part of What If Asta was a nine-tailed kitsune, which is basically a nine-tailed fox yokai. As for how this comes about, Asta's mom ends up having a child with a nine-tailed kitsune. They do live a good life with one another and such, until the incident that caused them to run. Upon Asta's father's orders, his subordinate was to follow Asta and watch over him until his powers awoken from his side. As for his powers, they aren't magic, but they're supernatural in origin and such. So yeah, not magic, but still seems like it. But as and such get to the orphanage, they grow up pretty normally until the time when the drunk guy tries to steal Yuno's pendant. And when he starts wailing on Asta, Black Dog begins to walk forward, growling. As Asta got up and came furious as the man was about to use his grimoire to attack them, Asta sprouted 9 tails and fox ears. One of his tails extending outward, slamming the man into the wall. The black dog, paused for a moment, and Yuma was stunned. He grabbed his pendant and just ran, saying, Asta, we should leave now. As they run, the black dog follows them and they start to panic. Though, even more so when the black dog begins to grow in size, getting in their way and actually speaking, saying, Stop, we need to talk. They stop in fear, not knowing what's going on. A giant black dog is just in their way from going home, telling them to stop. And all of a sudden, this giant dog changed again, turning into a man with long black hair. He said, Finally, wondered how long it would take. He introduced himself as Brutus and said that he was waiting for Asta's power to awaken from his father's side. Looking at Asta's tails and such, they Asta said, What are you talking about? The man kneeled down to them and said, Asta, look, your father wasn't exactly human. Your mother was, but your father wasn't. He is what's known as a yokai. As for what kind, it was a nine-tailed kitsune. But your mother was human. It was their wish for you to live among humans and for me to watch over you until your powers awoken. Asta grit his fist, saying, But why? They abandoned us. We were both abandoned. Why? Asta knows about the clothing that was so similar that they were obviously dropped off by the same people. Brutus didn't quite explain what was going on, knowing that it could have some bad effects if they knew who or how exactly their parents perished. But he said it wasn't their choice. They they were attacked. You and Yuno aren't related by blood, but from what I've seen, you're as close as brothers could ever be. As he smirks, looking at Yuno and asks, What do you think of this, Yuno? He just looks down for a moment, not knowing what to say, and when he takes a glance at Asta, He just smiles, putting his hand on Asta's shoulder, saying, Asta, it doesn't matter if you're half human or not human at all. You're still Asta to me. And Brutus smirked, saying, now that's the kind of answer I expected from you, poking, in his forehead. But Brutus said that they couldn't let Asta go back home the way he is now. A bit too many questions, and since he's not old enough or has full control of his powers yet, it'd be dangerous for their village to figure out what they are. He asks them to stay there for a moment as he hurries over back to the drunk man, using his powers to more or less wipe his memories of what just happened. He'll just think he got blackout drunk. When he came back, he started walking with Austin, in his arms, carrying them, while using his powers to suppress Asta's ears and tails, while telling him that I'll teach you how to control your powers tomorrow. Right now, I'll just use mine to suppress, to more or less conceal your your ears and tails, so that you can sleep without any questions from them tonight. But once tomorrow comes, go to the skull of the demon's remains, and we'll start your training. Asta was excited and was nervous. Brutus looked at and say, I can't you our powers aren't typically magic, but you training with us to become stronger shouldn't be a problem, smiled for a little bit and thanked him. Before they got to the church where the people in the church could see them, Brutus put them down and told them to keep it a secret, saying that if certain people find out about this, it could cause trouble, and that he'll explain in more detail about some stuff when it comes to yokais, in particular kitsune, tomorrow. So they went to bed, and as they got up in the morning, ate, and went out to go meet Brutus, he greeted them and told them to sit down, as he explained what exactly a yokai is. More or less, he explained that it was a type of being that's body is a mixture between spiritual energy and flesh and blood, which is why they're able to change forms and sizes at will. He also states that the older a yokai becomes, the more powerful they gain, in some cases, especially with kitsune. Though, looking at Asta, he explains that normally kitsune are born with only a single tail. It's very rare for one to be born with all 9 tails, and yokai don't particularly have children with humans off that mm, that much or at all, from to my knowledge. So I'm unclear about uh, what it means now for you to have all 9 tails. Raised this and asking what does he mean about being born with 1 tail and then ending up with 9. Brutus explained that it's a uniqueness of the kitsune, that the older a kitsune gets, the more powerful they become. As a sign of this power, they gain more tails. At least that's the way it's supposed to go. But every now and then, a 9-tailed kitsune it is naturally born, instead of aging to become one. Asta was excited to hear this, and Yuna was happy for Asta, and also really curious about what exactly he was asking him that. Brutus explained that he's a black hound, explaining that black hounds are born from a dog dying from certain circumstances, explaining that when a dog uh, ends up with its master dead, the dog, a black hound is born whenever that dog waits at their grave, just staying there waiting and never going anywhere else. They could some Most of the time they don't even eat or drink. They just sit there at their master's grave waiting for them to come back, but they never do. But and when they eventually die, those dogs become a black hound like him, like well, no, like me. That's what Brutus said. Stood up and went to Brutus, putting his hand on top of Brutus's hand, saying, "I'm sorry. That must have hurt." Brutus thinks this kid's a pretty gentle, and just says it's fine. After I met Master, I found someone else to serve. Though, now that he's gone, I have to watch over his son, Asta. Asta asked about his dad and what happened to him and their parents. He said he ended up lying. He didn't like to lie, but he knew doing it would be the safer option for now. He told them that they were just attacked by an unknown enemy, and they stayed behind to fight off while me and some others were able to get away. We knew that they might have ended up chasing us, so we had to leave you at the orphanage, both of you. And when they asked where they came from, he just said, "That doesn't matter right now. And plus, even if I told you you couldn't do something about it, it is pretty far away. You couldn't go there even if you wanted to." They kind of bummed out about this, though Brutus is mad, furious at himself for having to lie to them, though he knows that it's necessary. At least for the time being while they're still kids. Once that was over, Asa then raised his hands asking what kind of things he could do. He listed off some things while also explaining that he doesn't have magic. He has supernatural abilities, which has a wider spectrum of control and abilities. For a kitsune, they're able to manipulate their body, as well as using it for shape shifting, hair manipulation, and such. Uh, he also explains about foxfires, more or less a supernatural flame that he can use and manipulate to make that he remarks that his father would use them to create little foxes made out of the foxfire to attack enemies. Next was controlling plant life, causing it to rapidly grow and attack people to restrain them. Also including illusions and some other things like advanced healing and supernatural physical abilities and senses. Asta was thrilled that he was going to be able to do those things and wondered how powerful is he. He remarks that he's more powerful than a normal born kitsune since Asa was born with 9 tails, but not as powerful as his dad was, even though he himself was a kitsune, a 9 tailed kitsune, remarking that it's because Asta's not old enough. The older that you grow, Asta, the more power you'll gain over time. Your father was a good bit old, so he was powerful. And he was just excited about hearing that, and decided not to fall behind and said, "All right, so when do we start training?" Brutus smirked, saying, We start training now." As the years go by, Asta is trained to use his powers effectively, and it trains with his wind magic to use the little wind magic he can use without a grimoire very effectively, especially for maneuvering when him and Asta trained, so that he could dodge Asta's attacks and avoid getting captured. Asta would shoot fox fireballs as well as extend his tails to strike and try to grab Though as time went by, became a little bit more agile and such, and was able to dodge a good bit of them. If he got injured, Brutus later explained about the kitsune's ability to drain life force, as well as transfer it. He explains that it doesn't necessarily have to be from a person, it could be from an animal or even plants. Draining plant life, life force has the reaction of causing Asta to heal, and extending life force to others could also result in the same. Asta was just even more excited now, knowing that he has healing abilities. Though every now and then, was able to dodge his tails, and would be able to muster some force to blow his foxfires and cut his root. Though it did take a good bit of effort. As they grew older, they grew stronger, and Asta even became pretty useful in using his illusion ability from his kitsune side. And this continues to the part where it's time for the Grimoire ceremony. As for what Brutus been doing when he's not training them, he reverts back to his black dog form and just hangs around the church, sleeping. Asta and, just tell everybody that that this is Brutus, and that he's a dog that they're taking care of. And but the church doesn't really see a problem in that, since he's not eating any of the pot potatoes they're eating, and he seems to be good with the other kids uh, at the orphanage. So there's that. As they go to the Grimoire, well, before they go, Brutus pulls Asta and to the side, stating that it's possible that Asta might not get a grimoire, considering he has supernatural powers instead of magic. This bums Asta out a bit, but he understands. As they go to the grimoire ceremony, gets his four-leaf clover grimoire, which gives Asta a good smirk, thinking, of course he gets a four-leaf clover grimoire. I wouldn't expect anything else from my rival. Though he sees that he doesn't get one, and just sighs. As he just walks out, not bothering with dealing with all the other nobles and everybody mocking him for not getting a grimoire. And Brutus follows him. They go off to go sit down somewhere secluded near the grimoire tower and start talking, though Brutus is still in his dog form, so not to bring any unwanted attention. Brutus states, "Sorry, Asta. I guess I was right. Since you don't have magic, you couldn't get a grimoire. What now?" Asta just says, "It doesn't matter. I'm still gonna be the Wizard King." Brutus just smirks, saying, "Well, technically, among yokai, you're more or less a leader, or something that could be the equivalent of a king in terms of yokai. Asta looks at him surprised, asking, "And you didn't bother telling me this before? Also, what do you mean by that?" Brutus looks at Asta, stating that yokai tend to follow the strong. Nine-tailed foxes tend to be the strongest of all the yokai, so they tend to be leaders of yokai. It's one of the reasons why I ended up serving your father. Asta smiled and said, "Thanks. That is pretty interesting to know, though I wish you would have told me sooner." At this time, he sees a giant, small hurricane being blasted, wondering what's going on. As he goes, he sees that Yuno's uh, being was attacked by some nobles that got stomped by him. Ostracized, with Brutus saying, "That figures." No, it seems that nobles and such in this country seem to be more talk than anything else, expecting results just because they're born in a high social standing. This is why I hate monarchies like this. Though this is when chains began to shoot from the ground, entangling uh Yuno, and then going some chains going after Asta and Brutus. This was a chain mage who thought that this kid and he doesn't know him or know what's up with him. So he attacked him out of cautionary and was surprised when Asta and Brutus dodged. Though he was able to grab on to Yuna with his chains from a surprise sneak attack. Yuna was furious as the chain mage picked up his grimoire, stating that he was going to sell it on the black market as an art piece, which infuriated Yuno, as well as Asta and Brutus. Brutus grew in size, attacking the chain mage, but was met with chains attacking, striking him, stabbing him, and as well as chaining him down. The chain mage had to put a good bit of effort to keep Brutus down. So this is when Asta comes in attacking him. The chain mage is able to strike him in the shoulder and send him back. Though when Asta gets back up, he just gets furious, stating, "You're going to give back his grimoire, and you're going to let Brutus go right now." When this is said, wind begins to swirl around Asta, and when it dissipates, revealing him, showing off his fox ears and 9 fox tails, the chain mage stumbles back, saying, "What are you? What the hell are you two?" Looking at Brutus and Asta. At this time, a grimoire burst from the walls of the tower, going to Asta, revealing the Demon Slayer sword. Asta took it and used it to free Brutus as he extended one of his tails to smack the chain mage back, causing him to release Yuno's grimoire, giving Asta a chance to grab it with one of his other tails. He, as the chain mage got back up, saying, "Damn it, I'm going to kill all of you. I'll kill you two monsters and sell your corpses on the black market. I'm sure someone will be wanting to buy them. And I'll be taking that grimoire back." Asta just had enough and begins to walk towards the chain mage. As he fires his chains to attack, it just went through Asta, but it wasn't him. The Asta he pierced was an illusion, and the real Asta was able to get behind him, slamming him in the side with his sword, bringing him down. After that, he used his his manipulation of plants to tie him up in some roots that he sprouted from nearby trees. Freeing Yuno, he gave him back his grimoire, and Brutus hurried up and shrunk down before any of the other humans got there, using his powers to wipe his memory, the Chain Mage's memory of Asta's transformation, with Asta saying, "Oh, come on, I can defend myself now. Why are you erasing his memory?" With Brutus saying, calm down. You got a grimoire now that seems to be able to destroy magic. Plus he saw your kitsune form. So, at the moment, until we figure out some more things about that grimoire, of what it can do, and until we get to the magic night like you've been wanting to, you're going to have to stop and think. We don't need rumors about you floating around. After that, the chain mage was taken away, and they just went home. But as for the training, Asta and Yuno do their training, since uh, his sword can destroy magic. Anything Brutus could do wouldn't really be affected by it if he used some type of uh, yokai power attack. They find out that the flat of the blade is able to reflect magic while the blade destroys it. Though it's the only thing in this book, which Brutus thought there'd be more to it, though it doesn't seem like anything is off, at least at the moment to him. He can't tell what's in the grimoire. And just sighs. As for and as for the rest of the 6 months, they Asta still gets that training from the magic sword wielding diamond mage, as well as Brutus thinking it's time to teaching some other things. When Asta asked, Brutus explained that kitsune do have the ability to fly. Many yokai do, despite not having wings or anything. Asta just replies, "Why didn't you teach me that before?" Brutus just replied with, I wanted to train you in things to help you in combat more than anything. Flying is more or less a mode of transportation." Asta kinda understood and just went with it. He was able to learn how to fly and such, thinking that this is pretty cool. As he went down, he did ask about the transformation that Brutus been trying to help him achieve, but has been somewhat hard to get. Brutus says a full kitsune transformation seems to be difficult for a halfling like yourself. Though you seem to have all the powers of a kitsune, your ability to transform into a full fox form seems to be your struggling point. But given how old you are and how old kitsune tend to live, you're still basically an infant in comparison, or at least a newborn in comparison. Which Asta's just kind of mad at that comment, saying, "Hey!" Though Brutus does still mention that when he is able to do a full transformation, he'll be able to control his size in it like Brutus does with his dog form. So he'll be able to grow quite large. Though as for how large he'll be able to grow depends on how much power he holds. Nine tails or not, he's still not as strong as his father, so he won't grow as big as his dad was. Asta did pointed something out and asked, "Hey, you always refer to my dad as my dad, but you never told me his name." Brutus looked down, thinking, speaking his name makes me feel as though I failed him. So I just call him your dad. But if you wish to know, then I wouldn't I wouldn't object against it. Asta said, "Yeah, I would like to know." As he, as Brutus just kind of gulps a little bit, being just not feeling good, knowing about what happened to him, he finally states it. "Your father's name? It was Kis. It was Kisame. He was strong, noble, honorable. Though noble in the sense of the kind of person he was, and that he was someone that saved me. He was someone that I could trust, and that I put my life on the line to help. Though when he ordered me to take you away, it it didn't feel right to me leaving him there. But I knew your life was the most important thing to him. So I obeyed. And since he hasn't returned, the enemy he's most likely not around anymore." Asa just said, "I know you haven't told us who attacked us. That ended up in me and Yuno's parents dying. Though that I don't know if that's because you don't know who attacked us or why, or if it's because you're afraid of them and what might happen if I know about them. Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm here now. I'm a citizen of the Clover Kingdom. I'm Asta from House Village. That's all that matters." Brutus smirks, saying, "You can be loud, you can be all kinds of hyper, and you can be bullheaded. But at least you have a good sense of the present." Thinking in his mind, saying, "And while I'm just haunted by my past and of leaving Master behind." This is where we'll be ending this part of the What If. When we get to the next part, it will be at the entrance exam of the Magic Knights. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed. Uh, and have a good day. Also remember to hit that notification bell for updates and for uploads of new What Ifs. So, see you later.